And on that, because I mean, there's a lot of things that we can talk about with Portia's life, but yet she came on here to attack me the entire season.
I mean, she should be worried about who flipping and flopping in that basement with Ralph. Don't worry about me.
Simon says you had no storyline.
Dennis is a part of my storyline. He is my family. And you put yourself in the middle of the storyline. So I don't know.
You knew that you filmed with Dennis and that she felt a certain way about it. Why continue filming with him?
Where the cameras catch me, they catch me. If they catch me in the studio, great. Dennis and I weren't ever getting together to diminish you, disrespect you. So that was not true.
Did you really think Drew was sleeping with Dennis for beats?
Oh, no.
I thought Dennis showed you a text.
No, he showed me the
Saying
text.
that.
He did.
What did it say?
It was the same text I showed to Ralph. It was.
Let's see, because Ralph told me what the text said. And it
Okay.
didn't say, y'all got two different stories.
I don't have the text.
What did it
Oh,
say?
how
Tell us.
convenient.
Now, all season, I've been saying Portia keep trying to make fetch happen with this Drew Dennis booty for beats thing. And lo and behold, it was all a lie. It was all a lie. You can laugh through the season, honey, but when it comes to the reunion, the lies come out. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel where we do weekly recaps of all the Real Housewives. This week's recap is going to be of the Real Housewives of Atlanta, Season 16 Reunion Part 1. But before we get into it, guys, do me a favor. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and don't hesitate to leave a comment. So we see that the girls are arriving at the studio to get into glam and get ready for the reunion. It's very early in the morning. We see everyone arrive, and then we see at 6:30 a.m. we see Portia is knocked out sleep. She has some breakfast, and I guess she got that itis, so she's knocked out sleep. And we see like her half-finished breakfast still in a container. Then we see that the girls are getting glam. All of the girls are in glam now. Kelly, she's in her glamour with her glam team. We see that she got custom shirts for them. Her shirts say Kelly's team, so nobody makes any confusions and they know their minds. And she also said everything she's wearing tonight is custom made. Everything is custom made. Angela's getting her glam done, and we see she's making sure that her wig is on. She's like, I want to make sure the wig stays on. We're not sliding back or coming, lifting up, none of that, okay? We see Shamia and her glam. She's on a FaceTime with her mom, chatting with her mom. We see Miss Phaedra, she's going to go check on Britt. She goes to Britt's room, and Britt's room is empty, completely empty. So she's looking around gagging like, what is going on? So then she goes over to Portia's room and let Portia know, like, Portia, let's wake up, girl. Come on, you gotta get up. Time to get in glam. So Portia's like, what time we starting? She said, we starting at 9. So also she lets Portia know that Britt ain't there, honey. Britt is nowhere to be found. So they're assuming maybe she's late or something. Then we see that Shamia, Angela, and Britt are all together and they're chatting in their in one of their dressing rooms. And Cynthia comes into Portia's dressing room with her and Phaedra, and they put her up on the news that Britt isn't there, and she's gagging as well. So Portia goes to try to FaceTime her or call her or whatever, and Britt sends her the voicemail. So Britt is not coming, we see. Now, we see it's 11:30 a.m. We see Andy comes out to sit on the stage, and he's looking like, oh my gosh, we 2.5 hours late. Kelly's the first girl to come out, then Angela, followed by Shamia. Portia comes out next, and when Portia comes out, you see Shamia's face looking like... Phaedra comes out next, and Drew comes out last. I'm like, Drew, what's up? Lo and behold, like, we already knew you was going to be last. You've been the last one to arrive for everything this season, girl. What are you giving? You think you the star of the group, girl? Maybe that's why they gave your ass last chair, even though you didn't, like... I was surprised to see that Drew was in the last chair, because not for nothing, out of everybody on this cast, Drew had the most storyline all season. And it seemed like most of the girls were making their storyline about Drew, making Drew their storyline. So I figured Drew would have been in one of the first sheets because she had the most drama this season with the girls. But lo and behold, they got her in the last chair, honey. I was gagging like, ooh, I know she was gagging too. So Andy greets the ladies. He asks Phaedra, Phaedra, do you have PTSD being on a reunion stage again? Portia, when he greets Portia, you see Shamia, when he greets Shamia, because he's like, hey Shamia, you went from being the plus one to that one. And you see Portia's face looking like, Angela has her fan, of course, is blinged out. And we see Kelly, she bought her crystal. So he greets all the girls, and he addresses Britt's absence. My fan is blowing, so I got my hair blowing. So he addresses Britt not being there, and everybody's acting like they so surprised. So Kelly was like, you know what? She's not surprised because Britt has done a lot this season, and she had a lot to account for, and she's running from accountability. She wants to play the victim and the villain. Portia says she spoke to Britt last night, and Britt didn't say nothing about not coming. She said they were actually talking about the fact that the husbands and the boyfriends were coming, and she confirmed that Mike would be there. So then he asked Drew if she spoke with Britt, and Drew said she actually got a text message from Britt about some lawsuit that she's filing against Drew regarding the Kinga situation and the pictures that was given to Kinga, because online it was a rumor that she got the pictures from Drew. So yeah, that's what Drew said, and the girls was like, what? So now Andy asked Phaedra about her headpiece, and she said it was inspired from the Jab Jab event. So then they talk about the men in Grenada, and they say, he asked them, what is it about the men in Grenada? And they like, oh, they spicy, they sexy, like, they basically praise the men in Grenada. So Andy goes on, and he congratulates all the newbies on their first season, and for being a great first season for all of the newbies. And they're all thankful. And, you know, he asks, was any of them expecting this? And they all kind of wasn't expecting it. So they're happy that, you know, the audience is liking them. Shamia says a prayer before they get started. So she does a prayer. And now Andy asks if anyone has any intentions they want to set. Portia says she basically want to figure things out. She want to have conversations with whoever she need to have conversations with and reach, you know, where we go from here. Either we going to squash it or what? How do we move forward? So Miss Cynthia comes out now. At this point, Cynthia comes out. Andy praises her for being the best friend. He says she was the best friend that they ever had on Real Housewives of Atlanta. And I was like, okay. I mean, she was good, but let's give her some more seasons as a friend, because the first friend that jumped out of my mind when I thought about Real Housewives of Atlanta was Miss Marlo Hampton. Okay? So anyway, so he asked her about her hood, her inverted whatever. They talk about that for a minute, and then he asks about her boyfriend. He calls him Amsterdam, and Cynthia's like, his name is not Anthea, and not Amsterdam, Miss LaPrince. And she says he's fine, and he also points out that LaPrince is younger than Cynthia, and also points out how Phaedra's man, Chet, is younger than her. And Phaedra's like, yep, he's 33, honey, okay? So now, we get the Portia's package. We do Portia's package. And we see that after her package is over, because at the end of it, they show Londi or whatever. So she gets emotional over Londi, and they was talking about the Londi situation. So, you know, she got emotional. So then, you know, they talk about her being back in her house. And she said that meant a lot to her, because it was like a big thing for her. Her prenup has stipulations that made it a marital home. So she's happy to be back in her home and, you know, to get something out of this divorce and to set this one up where she's not going to be left high and dry, okay? So, but she says that she's still, like, going through it or whatever, because it's a lot going on. Because at this point, when they shot the reunion, her and Simon hadn't been divorced yet. So he was still in ICE custody, and he was still basically battling it out with this divorce thing. And she said that, you know, that was making things complicated. And as she was talking, she was like saying, because just like her, you know, I know what it's like. So when she said just like her, you see Drew whispering to Kelly like her, who's her? And Kelly was like, I guess she talk about me, but our marriages is not the same. So then Andy is asking her questions about Simon, and she's basically saying she can't really speak on that because of legal reasons. But she does confirm that he is in ICE custody. So Andy addresses the rumors that she was the one that called ICE, because online the people were saying how Portia's the one that called ICE on Simon, and she basically denies doing so. She says him being in ICE actually complicates things for her. It would be much easier. She felt like if he wasn't in ICE custody, they would be divorced by now. Andy asked her if she still loves him, and she says she does. So then he asked her about Shamia, like basically giving her warnings about Simon, and Shamia says that her and Gerald did come to her and was like they heard such and such, and that his money might be funny, and she might need to check into him because, you know, something is off. So they asked her why was they divorced. And she said that basically there was a lot of untruths being told, and she felt like it was a few times she was being put in unsafe predicaments. Not physically unsafe, but unsafe. So she doesn't really go into detail about it. So now Andy gets to some viewer questions. So the first viewer question is for Kelly, and the viewer wants to know why Kelly came for Portia. Did she come for her out of concern because, you know, as she said, she has been, as a married woman and being cheated on and infidelity, or like, was she just trying to be messy? And Kelly says she did it out of concern. She tries to lie and say she did it out of concern. And Portia's like, girl, bye. We all know you didn't do it out of concern. Says she was being messy. Just admit it. I mean, we all wanted to know. So you asked the question. We all wanted you to ask anyway, girl. So come on. So now as she's talking, Portia is comparing a situation, saying, you know, why would you come for my situation? You going through a divorce, I'm going through a divorce. We both got our situations, whatever. And Kelly is like, girl, I don't know why you comparing our situations. Let me shut you up right now. Let me stop you right now. Portia, like, I've been married 11 years. You've been married 11 months. Our marriages are not the same, honey. Do not compare peaches to apples, okay? So Portia's like, oh, I guess mine don't matter. But Kelly shut that down. So now the next question is for Portia, and the viewer wants to know why she said that she would fuck Charles. So she basically apologizes for that again, and she says it was out of line. And she tries to say that when she apologized to Angela apologized for saying something. She tried to like flip it a little bit, and Angela shut that down. So now the next question, so now Andy asks Portia if Shamia introduced her to Simon, and she hesitates to answer because Angela was saying how Shamia told them she introduced them, and Shamia was adamant that she never said she introduced them. And so when Andy asked Portia hesitated, and then she said no. So they noticed that she hesitated before she answered. So it was like, what is it giving? Did she introduce? So they showed the flashback, and Shamia, what she actually said was, I was there when Portia met Simon. She didn't say I introduced them, but she was like, I was there when they met. So take what you want from that. So now Portia says basically, I got him. He was mine. I got him. I gave him back. And I don't want to talk about it no more. She shut the conversation down. For some reason, she just doesn't want to nip this in the bud. We was trying to get somewhere with this. Yeah, we get it. It happened, 3-4 years ago? But guess what? You never acknowledged it. You never addressed it. You never took accountability for it. And now it's like you just want us to sweep it under the rug. You don't want us to talk about it. You want to just shut it down. So anyway, now the next question, I think Portia, they asked Portia, a viewer said that they noticed how Portia and Dennis be on her YouTube together, and that he felt like there's a connection there. So he wanted to know if Pilar's getting a sibling, and then that's when Portia says, oh, that's why Dennis was so important to her, because everything she was going through, she wanted to make sure her parenting relationship was tight. Or whatever. So the next question is for Drew. And, well, not the next question, actually. Andy asked Drew. He was like, Drew, you was on what she was on when she said this. I forgot, but he said she did an interview, and she said that basically Portia's return was given flop and try hard. And he was like, do you still feel that way? And Drew was like, yes, I stand on that, because, you know, Portia had a lot of things to talk about, but yet she chose to talk about me, or whatever the case may be, because she ain't have no storyline. Basically, yes, it was given flop. So now that's when Portia's going to talk about you need to be worrying about who's flopping around in that basement with with Ralph. Drew was like, Simon says you have no storyline. That was funny. So now they start to go back and forth, and Drew was basically telling her, like, you know, you was a flop. Like, you came back when you could have talked about all these other things you had going on, but you went to focus on me and come for me over something that you knew wasn't true. So they brought up the fact, Andy asked her, like, out of all, like, you know, he asked her, like, why didn't she tell her, basically, there's something about her recording with Ralph. And that's when Drew was basically like, look, when the cameras catch me, they catch me. Like, she says that she reached out to Portia and she couldn't get in touch with her. So Andy asked Portia if she really believed that they was doing booty for beads. So Portia was like, no, she didn't believe that or whatever. So Shamea was like, well, didn't you say that Ralph, Drew, Dennis sent you a text? Portia's basically lying now. So she's like, yeah, so basically, like, where's the text? Like, and Drew was like, yeah, what did he text you? Because Ralph showed me the text. This is the same text she supposedly showed Ralph when they met up with him to go eat and film for him. So Drew was like, Ralph told me what the text said, and y'all got two different stories. So we want to know what the text say. So now Portia's like, oh, I don't have the text. And Drew was like, how convenient. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. It was all a lie. It was all a lie.
All a lie. Guys, it was all a lie. She lied.
Now, Cynthia decides that she wants to pipe in and be like, regardless of whatever, you gotta, the way you went about it, it took away from the focus of your music, because everybody's wondering what's going on with you and Dennis. And Drew was like, Portia knew we was working together. Like, please, she been knew we was working together. She was on the phone with us when we was in the studio. So she confirms that she was calling Portia and texting her, because Andy was like, why didn't you text her? And she was like, I did. I sent her a text. And she said you was in Dubai and Nigeria and all of that, living your African princess life. Drew was cooking this finale, okay? This reunion, part 1. So now Portia's trying to overtalk her. They going back and forth. And Shamea jumps in to say, yeah, but you told me she didn't know, because mind you, Drew was insisting that Portia knew she was working with Dennis. And Shamea jumps in to say to Drew, well, you told me she didn't know. And Drew's like, go sit on Portia's lap, girl. Go sit on Portia's lap or whatever. So now Shamea is, you know, trying to get into it. So Andy is like, let her talk. He wanted to hear what Shamea had to say. So Shamea brings up her party, which was the season premiere episode, the first episode, when she asked Drew at the party, was she messing with Dennis? And she felt like she asked her that because she wanted to know. But then when she met with Angela and Drew to go to the gym after that, which was episode 2, she don't like how they was pressing her and trying to switch it. Like, it went from she asked was she messing with Drew to was she fucking Drew. So Angela said, well, Shamea, the only reason why I came at you like that is because I felt away, is because Portia told you to leave it alone. So why was you still coming and being her representative? So Shamea's like, no, that's not true. So Portia confirms, yes, I did tell Shamea I didn't want her to say nothing about fucking Dennis. I didn't want her to come at her like that, because Shamea wanted to ask her, do I sleep her in that go naked hair? And she told her, no, I don't want you to come at her with that. So now her and Shamia start to go back and forth because Shamia is basically feeling like Portia's throwing her under the bus now. Which she is, but if her sister, she told you not to say nothing, you still took it upon yourself because all season you wanted to prove to Portia that I'm your friend, So you was doing things you didn't need to do, like getting yourself involved in drama that you didn't have no problem to be in. And now look, Portia's throwing you under the bus because she's saying, girl, I told you not to come at her and say nothing in my behalf. So they're going back and forth now. And Andy asks Drew, like, of all the producers in Atlanta, why Dennis? And then he like, well, I do see that Portia said it's good music or whatever, and Portia does give Drew her flowers. She was like, yeah, it's a real good album, so it's a good thing she did work with Dennis, because I can't front, her album is really good. So Drew likes that. She is flattered, like, thank you, I like that, I appreciate that or whatever. So now Portia brings up Drew doing an interview at the Breakfast Club and trashing Go Naked here. And Drew was like, girl, you was trashing me and my music and everything about me all season. So, you know what I mean? You can't attack and then get mad when I clap back. So now a viewer question comes in, and the viewer question is for Portia. And it's like, Portia, don't you think you owe Drew an apology for making all these accusations about her, and you see that it wasn't anything you said it was or whatever? You was doing all that. So Portia, she actually gets up to go hug Drew and apologize. So she apologizes for filming with Ralph, and she says that she was doing it to get back to be petty. She confirms because Andy asked her, was you doing it to be petty? And she said, yes, she was. But she said even though when she was doing it, it didn't feel right and it didn't sit right with her. So she wanted to apologize to that for Drew. And Drew acknowledges that when she first came on her first season and she was having issues, she was calling Phaedra, and Phaedra was there for her to confide in. And she also acknowledges that her first season, you know, her lace wasn't glued down. You know, her wigs wasn't wigging. So Portia helped her out with the Go Naked ambassadorship. So she acknowledges that. So now Andy addresses Kelly and her situation with Britt, because he was like, you know, you and Britt were close. Y'all was tight. It was like when one spoke, y'all finished each other's sentences or whatever. You was going hard against Angela for her and all that. And now y'all not speaking or whatever, like, how do you feel about that now? So Kelly pretty much says what she been saying. She feels like she showed up for Britt when other girls didn't, and Britt did not reciprocate that. She, you know, she did all these things for Britt. She had the police brunch for her. She went to her house and got her the IV specialist, which we found out she paid for all three of them, including Mike, to get one. It came out to $1,000. So then they talk about the whole style. So Kelly basically says that she feels that it's one thing, like she was looking out for her when she gave her the stylist. It's one thing, but when you start on her whole team, it became weird or whatever. So then she did acknowledge that Britt was paying for her services when she used them. She didn't pay for Britt or whatever. So she acknowledges that. So that's when Portia says that Britt had mentioned to her that she felt like it was some jealousy. And she also says she don't want to speak for Britt, but Britt also told Portia that there was like a newbie alliance and they were supposed to take Portia down because Phaedra was coming back, and they had a meeting in Houston and all that. So Britt had noticed that when they started coming for her in Grenada about the you know, donations and all of that, that's when she realized she had been kicked out of the alliance. So she was like, fuck these bitches now at this point, because I'm not a part of the alliance no more. They coming for me now. So Shamia confirms that, yeah, there was an alliance, but what Portia left out is that Portia was a part of the alliance. Portia denies it. Shamia says, yes, girl, you was a part of the alliance, because when she met up with Britt and Kelly at night for the first episode, and they was coming for her, she told them, I want y'all to lighten up on Portia. Y'all need to get to know her. We all need to be in alliance. This is what Shamia claims, okay? Between Shamia and Portia, I don't believe a word either one of them say, okay, at this point. So another viewer question comes in, and it's for Kelly. And it's saying, Kelly, you know, when you had Britt's back, were you doing it out of loyalty or being a good friend or whatever? So she says, yes, she's a good friend. She's loyal. And Angela feels like, because the person acknowledged that Kelly was basically coming for Angela with Britt. So Angela feels that Kelly didn't get to know her on her own. Andy addresses Britt and Kelly's argument that they had at Phaedra's Black Glove event when Britt basically made the allegations about her having the abortions when she was married. Kelly addresses it. She claims once again that she got her tubes tied after the twins. My body, my choice, whatever, the same old spill or whatever. So who are we to judge her even if she did? And if she did, then for Britt to put that out there, I guess she went low, so Britt went to hell. But I personally wouldn't put that out about somebody, no matter how bad we fell out. It depends on how bad we fell out, but honestly, I feel like there's nothing about me that bad that somebody that can put out, so I wouldn't have to go there. Because I feel like for me to have to go there with somebody and do something that bad, they would have to reveal something that bad about me. But there's nothing that bad about me that someone could reveal that would make me that angry to go there. So I don't know. Anyway, Kelly is finally divorced. The divorce is finalized, and she lets us know that it costs her roughly $200K. And that's when Andy brings up, her having a bodyguard and all that. But before he said that, he was telling her how she basically was spending, because he brought up the new location for the Waffle House. He was asking her about the Waffle House, and she was telling him how she's working on it, she's getting there. So then he was like, you think that maybe, because remember, it wasn't on the show, but out there in the blogs and in these YouTube streets, there was, basically Kelly was in foreclosure or she wasn't paying rent. There was some type of lawsuit for the rent at the Waffle House, at the new location or something like that. Or was it the other location? I'm not sure, but there was something going on with her not paying rent at her Waffle House. So Andy said to her, on the show, you was having these luxury parties, buying your daughter 16 bags, getting your dog facials and all that. Don't you think maybe instead of doing all that, that could have went towards your rent for your Waffle House? And Kelly was like, well, I did just have a divorce for $200,000. So Andy was like, I'm just waiting for it to open up. And Kelly was like, I needed to do all that because, pretty much she gave her reasons. So Andy, then that's when he brings up the bodyguard and asking her, why she, somebody, I don't know how the bodyguards came up, but Andy asked the ladies, do you guys think it's weird that she walks around with a bodyguard? So Portia says no, because we already know the reason. But then she said, well, there's another reason. And basically she claims that Kelly don't really need the bodyguard, that her ex-husband Mark is not after her and trying to attack her, and that she basically just did it for the show. And Kelly was like, in my Portia voice, who told you that? But she didn't really do it in her Portia voice. She did it in her Kelly voice. So Portia was like, well, that's not really my voice. But anyway, so Portia says basically like that's what she heard. And Drew says that Mark, her ex-husband, also reached out to Ralph. And they showed a quick thing of Ralph on his YouTube show saying how Mark, Kelly's ex-husband, reached out to him and told him how Kelly just got him locked up. So now they ask him, like, did you get him locked up? And Kelly denies that. She's like, no, whatever. Like, he, you can't, she said, you can't just make up accusations about somebody and they get locked up just like that. So Phaedra was like, well, they asked Phaedra because she's the resident, attorney that doesn't want a case. But anyway, and Phaedra was like, no, that's not true. Once it's a complaint and if the person don't show up to court, then they're going to take the complainant's word and it's going to be a warrant for your arrest. So pretty much you could basically get somebody just locked up for any reason in Georgia. So Andy asked Kelly about, I jumped ahead because that's when he asked her about the new location. Earlier they were talking about the divorce, the $200K, and her spending money, and like the and things of that nature. But this is when he was asking her about the new location, and that's when they got into the whole spill about her spending money on other things when she should have been paying her rent for her Waffle House. So now he asked her if she thinks she could ever be friends with Britt again, and she says no. So next we get into Angela's package. So they show her package, and now we get right into the whole Angela and Phaedra of it all. So she says that Marcus told her first that Marcus was basically saying how trying to put it on Kelly and put it on everybody else, and then he finally admitted it was Phaedra. So Andy was like, well, if he said all these people, what makes you think he was telling the truth about Phaedra? And then that's when Angela pulled out her little folder. She had a little file, a little envelope or whatever, and she pulled it out and was like, somehow Marcus had an aunt that went to school with Phaedra's brother. It was just, it kind of fell flat. But basically, she said that Phaedra's brother went to school with them, and she knew the aunt, and they from Athens, so that's why she felt Phaedra has something to do with it, and he told her Phaedra did it, and Phaedra is still denying it. They're going back and forth, and the last thing Angela says is that she did it because she was trying to secure her spot or whatever, and that's when so Phaedra was like, honey, my spot is already secured. I have a guaranteed contract. And pretty much, so the episode ended with them going back, with Angela and Phaedra going back and forth. So we're going to pick up back from there next week. So tell me, you guys, what you thought about Reunion Part 1. I did enjoy this Reunion Part 1. It was actually better than what I thought. So on a scale from 1 to 5, I'm going to give Part 1. It was a good Part 1, I'm not going to lie. I wouldn't say it was a 5. I would give it a 4, a 4.5. Part 1 was good. It was good. I'm not gonna lie. I was stuck to the screen. So yeah, we're gonna see what happens in Part 2. It looks like in Part 2, I guess Phaedra and Angela gonna finish up what they got going on. And what they were showing in the commercial, child, I don't remember, but we're gonna get into it next week when we do Reunion Part 2. But anyway, guys, I hope you guys checked out my recap for Orange County season premiere, which I put up over the weekend. I put it up Monday, but it came on last week, Thursday, and I did my recap on Monday. So that's up. My latest recap of Miami is up. Miami did come on last night, so I'm about to watch that episode now, and I'll have my recap for Miami out tomorrow. In the meantime, I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your week. Please do me a favor, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and do not hesitate to leave a comment. Bye.